Hey, it's Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe. Here to talk to you today about the Carolina Panthers beginning their OTAs. So, exciting day for me as this was the first time that I got to see a lot of these draft picks in person. But I will admit, I always admit around this time of the year, it is still a little bit challenging to watch all these guys. We're standing like up on a hill and they're spread out over the field. Didn't have my binoculars, but you know what? I'm here to tell you about what I observed today. Somebody's messing with my mic. Get my mic right. And just sorry about that. I normally check all of my connections. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I did not check everything before I came on, and I feel like there's a few things that are not quite right. So give me just one quick second. All right, there we go. I did not need the full 30 seconds. Sorry to cut to a commercial break so early live on in the show, but let's go ahead and get to it. And a reminder, this show is live and interactive, so I always love and welcome your feedback. I will continue to do that from now until the end of the season. Goal is always to be the most interactive media that you have for learning about your Carolina Panthers. If you have a question for me, let me know. If you have a question for a player, for a coach, let me know. And I will always do my best to get those questions answered for you. So, observations from today. Number one, Christian McCaffrey looks physically pretty darn good. There's going to obviously be the question about his health and how will he look as he goes through the season. So I'm going to get into that more in a little bit. I'm going to adjust his mic a little bit right there. A little bit more maybe. About right there. And let me go ahead and talk about a few observations. First, I have a few different jersey colors that I had to get some clarity on today. So, of course, offense typically wears white in practice. Defense typically wears black. I don't know where that typically came from, but that is what typically happens. And quarterbacks wear red, but there was a little difference today. Quarterbacks wore a light blue. And then there were players that wore a red jersey. And I did not write down all of those guys. And here's my little list from today's practice. But we also have players wearing green. So, let me go back. I did not explain why the players wear red. Those players that are wearing red today. Oh, excuse me. Give me 1 second. Where's my notes? I am a little mad at trying to find my notes here. I apologize. Give me a second. I just saw somebody say welcome back. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. Those players that were wearing red today were able to warm up, but they were not allowed to practice at all. So there were a few guys, I think it might have been 3 jerseys that I saw. I didn't write those ones down exactly that were wearing red today. But the green ones was the one that surprised me the most. Got some information from the PR team about that. And so the green jerseys are players who can participate but are extra careful and do not touch. At this point of OTAs is really not much contact at all, other than a little maybe hand touching. There's no tackling, if you will. But those green jerseys are, I guess, a way to say, particularly, do not touch these guys because they're recovering from injury. So those guys that I saw today that were wearing a green jersey would have been 24 CJ Henderson. He had on a green jersey today. Deontay Foreman. He had on a green jersey today. Even though I feel like that may have changed. I see here in my notes, but I remember him running the ball. Strange. Maybe he changed. Because I really know later on in practice I saw him in a green jersey. Nevertheless, John Lovett, running back, he had on a green jersey today. And then Davion Nixon, he had on a green jersey today. So those are all your green jerseys. Again, those mean these guys are able to participate in practice, but please do not touch the red jerseys today were people that were not going to be participating in practice. So hopefully that was all good information to you guys. And my job is to bring information that you don't get firsthand. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, just go through some of those things for you. They also had, for the first time that I've seen out there today, a big board, like a jumbo screen, if you will. It was mobile. That was out at the practice facility. I don't know why they had it out there. My mic is not working. Check. So somebody just said that my mic is not working. I show that my mic is working. Oh, you said that my mic is dying and you're hearing noise. Oh boy. All right, so you guys said that my mic is not working too greatly and you're hearing noise. What kind of noise? Tell me if the mic is the mic still not working well? It's fine now. When you guys saw me moving around, did you hear something changing? Because I don't know if I changed anything, but I just do want to take another second here and make sure that the mic is working for everybody. Meanwhile, I'll say, what's up, Ali? Appreciate you tuning in. What's up, Alec? Shakid Bar, I appreciate you tuning in. All right, so that's one, it's fine now, and one, it's better. Okay, so it's working now. Was there anything that you all missed with the staticky mic? If so, let me know, and I'll go back and repeat it. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to go on. But hey, again, interactive show, live show. If there's ever any problems, please let me know so I can get that corrected. So, yeah, the jumbo board that was out there, it was just like looping through. I have no idea who it was for or why it was out there. So I'll try to see if I can't get answers about that board. But other than that, it was a beautiful, very beautiful day out there in practice. I think it was about mid-70s. And it was perfect. Practice started around 10:30 or so. That by the time practice ended today is when it was getting warmer. So my fingers are crossed that is the way the practice OTAs will be from here on out. There's 2 more sessions that the media will get to attend, maybe 3, but definitely 2 more sessions. So look for some more of these videos. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing so I can continue to be your source for Carolina Panthers news. Just reading some of your comments here about the mic. Just gonna read this to make sure everything is still good. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go back and repeat the players real quick in case my mic was messing up and you guys did not get to hear that. These are gonna be the players that wore green jerseys, which means they were able to practice, but please do not touch. These are fragile. Probably these guys are just trying to make sure they're fully recovered from some injury. So C.J. Henderson had on a green jersey. Deontay Foreman had on a green jersey, which I strongly believe he changed because he no longer had on a green jersey when I saw him practicing later in the afternoon. John Lovett had on a green jersey. Davion Nixon had on a green jersey. Those were the green jerseys today. Quarterbacks had on light blue, baby blue today to designate them as quarterbacks. All right, so moving on. Start talking about Christian McCaffrey. So he'll be the first guy that I talk about. Now, again, physically, this guy looks sharp. And, he's known for trying to take care of his body very well. I say trying because, he's been getting hurt, even though that does not mean he's not taking care of his body. But I noticed that Christian doing warm-up today when, most guys are laying down, doing the stretches. Christian was doing some extra running and extra activities to really loosen himself up and get ready for practice today. That just stood out because most players don't do that. They don't all, and let me make this clear, players when they're doing warm-ups, if you've been to a game, every single guy is not out there doing the calisthenic stretching verbatim from what the coach is expecting. So that's not anything alarming or unusual. I know Cam Newton was famous for doing stretches. He'd be running around and dancing and just being excited. And so it's not a huge deal, but I just hadn't seen Christian do that kind of extra warming up before practice. And so let's talk about what all is going on right now at OTAs, all right? So players are in shorts and jerseys. There's no pads. They do have on helmets. There's no contact during OTAs. But what exact part of OTAs is this Carolina Panther team in? So they've already gone through a phase one, which is installing these new plays in the playbook that they're going to have. We have a new offensive coordinator this year. So they've already gone through that phase of learning the plays. And then they've gone through a phase two, which was their phase two was just doing things on air, right? Nobody's in front of you. You're just kind of going through the motions of what you're supposed to do. And now this week was getting into phase three, which is actually having people in front of you as you practice these things. There's still some on-air type of things where there's nobody in front of you, but really this week is all about defense has their stuff, offense has their stuff. Whether we're doing 707s or skeleton type drills, we're going to have somebody in front of your face, and you're still going to run these plays and continue to get those plays committed to memory. So that's what today was all about. The first thing that I already talked about was Christian McCaffrey. The other thing that I'm sure everybody wants to know and talk about is the play of Sam Darnold, because will he be our starting quarterback? Will Matt be our starting quarterback? How does PJ Walker look? So it's still hard to tell much right now at this part of OTAs because the coaches are trying so many different combinations. Excuse me, you can't really tell who's more leaning towards the starter, who's more leaning towards the backup. But with that said, Sam, for what he had to do today, he looked good, but so did Matt, so did PJ Walker. There were some drops today from some players. And one of those players, I didn't write it down, but I do remember, Trouba Hubbard. I see him needing to still work on his hands. Trouba was not as solid as I would have liked to have seen from that aspect today. There were a few other drops, but again, I didn't write down those numbers and don't remember who those guys were. All right. And I'm pausing a lot here because during OTAs, we get a big list of things that we can and cannot talk about. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't go through any of those things with my notes here. Check and see if there's any questions from you guys as I go through this. Alec asked if green jerseys mean they're coming off injury. So I would assume that the players wearing green jerseys were dealing with some type of injuries because that's, to me, the most legitimate reason why you got that. Really, don't touch this guy, but he can be out there. J.C. Horn. Well, I don't see this in my notes. Yeah. J.C. Horn today, my first time seeing J.C. since he got hurt last year in a uniform. He looked pretty good. He also spoke with the media later on saying that there's no restrictions. He's 100% and he's ready to go. And he looked pretty good. He ran around, didn't have any kind of hesitations, limps, anything like that that would indicate that J.C. Horn is anything other than 100%. So That's really good to see that. Hey, we're gonna have Dante Jackson on one side, gonna have J.C. Horn on the other side. And J.C. had some. He was one of the people that did speak with the media today, indicating that he was happy when he learned that Dante Jackson was going to return because that meant that he had another guy with some years of experience and on the field for him to learn from and him to grow with, instead of him having to try to learn so much without a guy with that kind of experience on the team. Even though if we didn't have Dante, I'm quite sure we would have still had another veteran type guy that's back there on that secondary helping with him. JC went on to talk during his media session with the media that the time away from the game was tough. It was really tough, especially toward the end of the season when you hear these guys being talked about for rookie of the year, and just knowing that through no fault of his own that he couldn't even be included in those discussions. But he continued to be a football junkie, watching film, watching film, watching film. And I think that could be something that he learned from Stephon Gilmore, is that when you watch so much film, it's that you already know what a guy's going to do and you can react that much quicker. And he says for him, 9 times out of 10, and this is something to look forward to, okay? J.C. Horn says 9 times out of 10, watching the film that he watches so often allows him to know what's going to happen. So if that is true, if that is factual, that he's that big of a football junkie, I think it's pretty exciting to have some good expectations for JC heading into this year 2, which he says still feels like his rookie season, because he did not have, I think he played in 3 games last year as a rookie. See, Alec here mentioned that he hopes Trouba can fix his stone hands. Yeah. You know, Trouba, with this new offensive coordinator, he could have his work cut out for him in terms of being a pivotal part of the offense. Because if you're not able to catch the ball coming out of the backfield, and I haven't seen a lot of the new offensive coordinators' offense to know exactly how he's going to run it, but it seems like it's one in which the running backs could get the ball a decent amount out of the backfield. And that's something to be on alert for when you watch Trouba Hubbard play. But continuing on through my notes, that's really it, actually, that I feel like is safe to talk about from my first observation during OTAs. J.C. Horn looking good, Christian McCaffrey, and I really feel like I lost some of my notes. Well, I guess I didn't. I did pretty good. All right, so on to the media availability with the players. We had Coach Rule that came up first, and he talked about Sam Darnold and seeing some improvement in Sam this offseason as he prepares and starts to learn the new offense. I will tell you this, and I'm going to be more opinionated. Certainly, you guys are free to ask me as the season goes on about anything. But I feel that Sam Darnold is going to have his work cut out for him in not making the team. He's obviously going to make the team. I can't say obviously. He's obviously under contract. But with his $18 million, I believe, he's pretty much locked to make the team. But what will his role be as a starting quarterback? The thing that concerns me the most about Sam Darnold by far is that it seems to be a really glaring situation of how he can react and how can he play under pressure. And, we've talked about Sam and his happy feet. Sam has talked about his happy feet. And I just don't feel all the way comfortable with a professional quarterback I think this is year 4 for him, not being able to be settled when there's pressure. All right. So last year, our offensive line wasn't the best, and you could say that was the reason. But also, you notice that I think it was during the Dallas game. It was about, and this is just in terms of our defense, right? Teams saw stuff and they started changing up how they played against our defense. And so our top 2, 3, whatever, 4 defense started sliding as the season progressed. Now, even with the addition of, our offensive tackle, Equano, I'm just going to say, hopefully I'm going to start to get that name pretty good. You could just start to say, if I'm a defensive coordinator, if I get a lot of, and this is something that's kind of known for any quarterback, but hey, if I get a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold, where there's stuff coming from all directions, and if we get to hit him a few times, we could rattle him enough to maybe disturb him for the rest of the game. So that's what I feel like could happen with our quarterback, Sam Darnold, right now. And today he talked about, let me see if I can go to my notes. It was a comment that he made. One is he says, we're putting a lot of things on the offense, and that's a good thing. And then he spoke about there's a lot of new verbiage in this system, which is his 4th system. But he talked about his happy feet being a part of needing to stay calm and knowing what's going on. So if you have new verbiage, a lot of things that you're putting in, but you're staying more calm when there's like the pockets being well protected and things. It's just the way that it all when put together that it does not make me feel comfortable. And I hope I articulated that well enough for you to really get it. It's late here on the first day of covering OTA, so I'm hoping that I'm articulating properly. But basically the way Sam, to me, I'm paraphrasing, described it is, if things are just ho-hum, all hunky-dory pretty well, great, I'm good to go. But if things kind of get chaotic, gets me having happy feet, it's not as good. To me, it makes me feel the same way that I now feel about PJ Walker. And I want to emphasize, because I'm a pretty compassionate guy, I'm not saying that I don't like Sam Darnold or like any of these players personally, because that's a totally different thing. Sam Darnold, the person, PJ Walker, the person. But with PJ Walker, his problem is that he goes to try to hit a home run whenever he's playing quarterback. He tries to do something super duper spectacular, and that's when he starts to lose the game. Sam Darnold starts to lose the game whenever there's lots of pressure and he can't really know that when he doesn't have the comfort of knowing, hey, I get 3 seconds to throw the ball, then he's rushing through things. He's having these happy feet, and I don't like it. So we'll see how things progress. But as of today, May 24th, I feel like our second pick in the 3rd round, Matt, has a very good chance of seeing the field this year. But let me continue on. Again, so I'm going out of order, but I got you all pretty up to date with Matt Rule. Christian McCaffrey, they're talking about making sure that he stays healthy. What can we do differently to make sure that this guy stays healthy? A lot of sports science that they're using to evaluate Christian. They went back and they looked at everything from last year to see what they were doing with Christian. Christian today spoke about talking to Marshall Faulk about how he prepares in the off season. And even more, he said he's going to keep that conversation private between him and Marshall Faulk. The thing that I feel that is a big question mark with Christian McCaffrey is that he's already had a lot of injuries. If it was number 1 or number 2, then I feel like there's a little bit of chance to really get things on a much better scale where he's able to play 16 games or even 13 games, basically not miss many games. Certainly wish the guy the best and hope that he does well or better than I'm expecting. But it's hard for me to imagine that keeping Christian McCaffrey out of preseason games, which is something that Coach Rule talked about today, is going to be the key for Christian. And maybe limiting what he does in practice or changing how he approaches practice could also be something helpful for Christian. But I don't think he's taken a beat. He didn't play all last preseason. And I don't know. But let me just go to the report. But they're gonna watch Christian a lot. They're monitoring things now to figure out what, if anything, that they should change with practice. And again, mentioned they're going to keep him out of the preseason with the hopes of that being something that helps him out. Chris Johnson, man, showing up with the $10 super sticker. Oh, man, Chris, I'm going to tell you right now, you just made my night. I did not expect any of the super chats to come through. You came and gave me one. It's going to be put to great use. So I'll just take a moment to say, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that like button. It helps other Panther fans find out about me. The bigger I grow, the more I can do for you guys. So please continue to share this Charlotte Vibe YouTube channel. And I am a 100% independent media outlet, which means I'm supported completely by your donations and contributions to the channel. So anytime there's a chance for somebody to do something like that, whether it's $1 or $10 like Chris just did, it helps go a long way. And when I say long, I think about traveling to the games. We have quite a few. I know we have at least 2 West Coast games. Pretty expensive, and need you guys to help. All right. Alec Oven said McCaffrey freak injuries are a shame. Most of his injuries are non-contact. Yeah, I can't certainly get into the whole medical aspect of it. You know, some people saying like his injuries weren't those of, I forget the word to use, but it's something going on with Christian. Unfortunately, it really is. But I hope that he has a good season. What else could I go over with you guys? Talked about J.C. Horn, Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey. We also spoke with Deontay Foreman, as well as Jeremy Chin, who, he had a big smile on his face when the question was something about, man, I'm so sorry, you guys, that I'm not remembering stuff as precisely as I would like to, but it was a question regarding playing safety and playing linebacker, and if it's just better to stay at one. And he just had this big smile on his face. And he said, of course, I'm just doing whatever that I can to help my team win. And you just can't, I'll say it for Jeremy. Yeah, it's easier to play one position. When is it not easier to play and specialize and be in one position and just become a beast at it? But for Jeremy, I just hope that if they're going to keep him at safety, that they just keep him at safety, and they don't have it looming like you play safety, you play linebacker, you play safety, you play linebacker. I don't think that's good for his career to do that to this young guy. So, but he did touch on that. But that's really it from today. I'm going to continue to report weekly as things come up. I'll report those as well, but certainly any questions that you all have, I'm working for you, man of the people. I love that title, and I love working for you. So please always leave some comments. Let me know what it is that you want to talk about or what you want to know. There was one transaction that took place today, and that was defensive end Joe Jackson being waived. Again, that is defensive end Joe Jackson being waived. He was a former 5th-round pick for the Cowboys, spent last year with the Browns. He was signed with the Carolina Panthers back in February, and he is now a free agent. That's it. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope to see you soon. Hey, we're going to grow to first 5,000, but then we're going to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the season. I guarantee it. I'm going to make it worth your while to subscribe and to tell a friend. But meanwhile, that's it for tonight. Chris Jenkins reporting for Charlotte Vibe. Talk to you soon.